Welcome back to the 12th season of Corey Rereads. I already read If You Give a Mouse a Cookie already. Now it's time to read the second book, When Clay Sings. This is a story about making things out of clay. And it has a singing part as well. And I cannot wait to read it to you. Let's get to it. When Clay Sings by BYRD, illustrated by Tom BAHTI. This is awesome. There are desert hillsides where accent Indian pottery still lies half buried in the sand, and lizards blink at other deadly lizards that were painted on those parts 1,000 years ago. Now, Indian children make a game of searching for bits of clay that were once somebody's bowl or mug, or a cooking pot or dipper. Their parents look at what they find and tell them, remember, treat it with respect. It is so old. They say that every piece of clay is a piece of someone's life. They even say it has its own small voice and sings in its own way. So the children touch the pieces carefully as they kneel there in the hot, dry sand, listening for whatever voice a broken pot might use. A windy voice, a sandy voice, a voice like a far bird's cry. Sometimes, if they look long enough, and if they're lucky enough, they could fit 4 or 5 pieces together, the way you do a jigsaw puzzle. Then suddenly, they see a perky white-eyed bird look up at them, surprised. Maybe the bowl with the bird was dropped by some other Indian child who chased a rabbit near these same rocks then. When they find a bowl that isn't broken, the children can pretend that they've just eaten from it and that they're sitting by some campfire on a deerskin blanket, and it's then, not now, and they speak an older language. But they don't need words to know that there were specklebugs and spotted bugs and bugs with shiny wings and pinchy bugs and jumpy bugs and bugs that had 1,000 legs that liked to walk through grass. They know the molding of a lump of clay has always been a slow and gentle work. No hurrying, no rushing. Hands that shake the earth this way have time to know the cool touch of the sand. Women then must have spoken to the earth as they took its clay. They must have sung special songs for shaping the bowl, for polishing it, for baking it, so it would be strong enough to last long after that tribe was gone. Once somebody sitting on the ground outside a high, cold cliff house thought, I'll make this bowl as pretty as I can. And she painted what she liked the most. Stars and moon and sun and whirlwinds. Was the sun shining as she worked? Were her own brown naked children playing near? Was there a skinny dog? Was the smell of cooking in the air? Did a man come back from hunting and shake his head? And on another day, did she paint that hunter too? Sometimes children may have said, but in that other language, Mama, make a bowl with pictures of big animals for me, big fierce creatures that I'll hunt someday. So she drew mountain lions and wildcats and even a man wrestling a bear. Or is it a bear wrestling a man? The colors are still bright, red as deep as sandstone cliffs, browns and tans the shade of desert earth, black and white, shiny as stones polished by water and high mountain streams. There were 1,000 shapes to draw, horned toads and lizards, butterflies, turtles, and beautiful leaping fish. And deer mountain goats, and antelope that flash across these canyons, always faster than the boys who knew their trails and followed them among the rocks. They even drew the scariest things they could think of, called them monsters, called them night spirits, called them anything. Children make them up today, and they still have the same scary look in their eyes. Many a child must have eaten rabbit stew for supper out of bowls with rabbits painted on them. Here's a hunter who used a fine long net for catching rabbits, but what rabbit couldn't jump through that hole in the dish. This child was sick, and they called a medicine man to cure him. What magic is he using? What special chants and dances and whisper wands and whisper words on feather wands may have helped a boy get well again? And did medicine made from dry roots and flowers and yellow grasses taste like pink medicine tastes now? Indians who find this pottery today say that everything has its own spirit, even a broken pot. They say the clay remembers the hands that made it. Does it remember the cornfields too, and the summer rains and the ceremonies that held life together? Here are the rock masks and the costumes and the great dancing figures. Here is the flute player bent low over his song. Songs have to be powerful enough to make rain fall and winds blow and seeds sprout in the dark earth. Songs have to be powerful enough to keep warriors safe and lead the hunter to the deer and make summer always follow winter that hold the sun in its proper path across the sky and keep life moving on from tribe to tribe. They say that even now the wind sometimes finds one of those songs still in the clay and lifts it out and carries it down the canyon and across the hills. It is a small sound and always far away, but they say sometimes they hear it. The end. That was an amazing book, and I hope you're going to be recommended to your child with reading this one. And when we come back, I like to read the third and final book, Rabbit Pie, and a recap for today's show. Don't you move. We'll be back right after this.